So we are happy to have you. Thank you for coming. And we are excited to spend this couple of hours with you and get you introduced to the Collaborative Learning Circles Initiative, and hope that it feels like a good match for you and that you get as excited about it as we are. Dee, you want to start us off?
Would love to. Thank you, Sarah Joy. Hello, everyone. Welcome all. I really enjoyed seeing the hearts and just being together with you all. We're excited to have you join us today as we introduce our Collaborative Learning Circles initiative. So you all are our dedicated organizers of 1MC Nation, and you're responsible for so much of that vitality and warmth and impact of this program for new entrepreneurs. And I know I'm confident, and our team is confident, that your engagement in these circles will help strengthen our collective impact. And so we're desiring this initiative to be a tool both in solving those 1MC issues that you are surfacing regularly, and then also digging into some leadership opportunities for you individually. So I'd like to reintroduce Sarah Joy Pond with Conveners.org, who is our collaborator on this initiative and will be facilitating the rest of our time together. Over to you.
Thank you, Dee. So at Conveners.org, we are essentially, our job is to build powerful communities that bring people together toward a common goal. That's what we do. And we kind of joke that our one sentence, the essence of us, is that we get the right people in the right rooms having the right conversations to change the world. And we are really, really excited to partner with 1 Million Cups in this initiative. And you'll get a sense of our team more thoroughly as we go through this launch event. But I'm Sarah Joy. Michael, if you want to wave, and Eliza and Kristen are our facilitators, and you will love them. They are amazing. And we are so, so excited to be partnering with them. And Missy is a rock star and keeps everything running on track. And you'll be working really closely with her as well as you participate in this initiative. And Ray is our back end organizer, operations person that really keeps everything running on track. So we're really excited to be working with you all. At the beginning of every convening, we at Conveners.org do something we call a threshold moment. And threshold moments are a practice that kind of helps us engage each other with multiple senses and multiple states of knowing and being in order to transition together and kind of step over a threshold from whatever we've been doing before we came into this into a space together to do the kind of work that we came here to do. So to kind of step into the kind of gathering that we need to have in order to accomplish the goals that we came here to accomplish. So in our time together today, we're going to be asking you to engage in a lot of creative thinking and to stretch our conceptions of the way that we work and the way that 1 Million Cups works and what needs to happen in order to make that progress. That we are going to be asking you and each other and all of us together to kind of question why things are the way they are and what we maybe could do differently. Scientists have found that this kind of creative questioning is one of the relatively few forms of thought that activates distinct areas across the midline in the brain. So it uses both hemispheres of the brain. And one of the way that we can kind of warm up to do that kind of activation, and this is odd, but it's been shown to work, is to do cross-body motion and specifically hand-eye coordination. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take your non-dominant hand. So everybody raise a finger on your non-dominant hand. And I want you to tap that finger back and forth between each of the lemons you see on the screen and your nose. So lemon, nose, lemon, nose, lemon, nose. It's okay to laugh. In fact, there's probably some research that shows that will actually help. I haven't found it yet. Being recorded. It's probably on there. So, well done. Well done. now that our brains are all fired up and we're ready to work across our hemispheres and activate that creative questioning, we're going to begin. So we're going to start with clarifying what we came here to do today and how we're going to interact together. So one of the things that we start from the premise, everybody here is an adult and we all know how to interact together. So we're not going to spend a whole ton of time talking about like rules and the expectations, but we are going to set just a few expectations. One of those is that we ask that when you're here, you're here. So we recognize all of you have really busy lives. You are volunteers. This is, for very few of you, is this your job? And so there may be a phone call that comes up. There may be a really important email. If you need to take that, you'd go and take it, and that's totally fine. We do ask that this not be a time for multitasking, that when you're here, and if you need to go do something, go do it and come back when you can come back. So we understand that that's a reality, and take care of yourself. If you need a break, take a break. If you need to go take care of something, go take care of something. We also, all of us are here. We come from very different backgrounds. We come from very different experiences. And we want to come together in a spirit of respect. And we fully believe that all of you are coming to this with that understanding and that desire. So we want to come in understanding and believing that about each other, where we are coming together believing that all of us are coming wanting to be respectful and trying to be respectful. So we're going to believe the best of each other. And we are going to actively choose to value all voices. So we are going to come in and recognize about ourselves whether we have a tendency to dominate conversations or a tendency to not speak up as much as might be valuable to the conversation. And we're going to listen in the conversations to, how our voice might best be contributed. And we can each commit to paying attention to what voices are missing, what perspectives are missing, and how we might best support the shared understanding that needs to be created. And understand that all of us are here for the benefit of the 1 Million Cups program and the entrepreneurs that all of us are here to serve. We also want to make sure that anything that's shared here that we haven't been given express permission to share elsewhere stays here. And the final agreement that we want to come to is that we don't have a ton of time. So we commit to beginning and ending on time. So we will let you go when we're supposed to let you go. And we also have this principle that I have a dear facilitator friend who is just a marvelous human being. And he explains this principle by soaring around the room with his marvelous 6'4" or 5' black man arms and saying, we need to land the plane. It's tempting to kind of soar around a point and tell long stories and whatever, but we need to land the plane. So we're going to get to our points clearly and concisely so that all the people who are here to share their stories and their opinions and their perspectives have a chance to do so. So give me a show of hands. Is this something we can agree to? Excellent. Thank you. All right. As to what we are here to accomplish, like what we're going to do today. You all can read, so I'm not going to go through this step by step, but the gist of what we're going to do, we are going to introduce the process of the collaborative learning circles and how this is going to work so that you can get your questions answered and understand what it is we're asking you to do or inviting you to do. And we're going to get into then a deep dive into the themes and the specifics of each of the circles and what you'll have an opportunity to work on should you choose to join each of the circles. So that's kind of the gist of how we'll be spending our time. Does anyone have any questions about the agenda itself and what we're going to be doing today? Nope. Okay. And also, I can't see all of you on my screen at the same time, so do use the hand raise function if you want to ask a question. That would be super helpful. Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to Dee now for a few minutes to help us understand why this initiative and why now.
Thank you, Sarah Joy. Okay, so why this and why right now? And that is the question of the moment. So if you have been around 1MC for a period of time, you might have heard that enhancing consistency and stability within our 1MC experience has been one of our primary program focuses over the past 4 years. And now we're actually entering a moment of natural transition, because with those levels of increased consistency from one 1MC to the next, the ability to see and notice trends has also increased. And from about 2019 to now, we've heard you and your fellow organizers surfacing a higher percentage of similar questions, topics, challenges that you're looking for more information around. So the goal of the collaborative learning circles is to dig in, learn together. We want to collaborate and engage with you in the solutioning, taking into account a variety of perspectives and ultimately making our program better. So I want to pause and just have a moment of letting you know we value you, we want to hear from you, and we value your input. We, not just me, but our whole team, really believe that your ideas, your solutions, your thoughts in those areas that you've been surfacing over the last few years actually has the power to collect us, to advance us collectively. And so because of that, we've created this initiative that has opportunities for each of you. And those range from building those really valuable personal and professional relationships within the circles and each other. That could be collaborating around the ideas and solutions and actually getting to the answers to your problems. Or that could be deepening and building those essential leadership skills that you might need in the post-pandemic work world. So we've centered these circles around 3 areas of focus that represent really what you've been bringing up to the surface for a consistent period of time. Each of these themes is also highlighting an area where we have an opportunity as a program to enhance the value to those entrepreneurs that we're serving each week. And our focus is and should continue to be around unifying our experience nationwide to those entrepreneurs so that every entrepreneur has a safe, inclusive, and consistent opportunity to connect in a learning environment. And we chose conveners.org to collaborate with for this initiative because we know that our organizers, namely you, are really incredibly enthusiastic and creative, and you're a driven bunch of people. And we'd be missing out if we formed a community of practice that was just all talking and not action driven. So as you'll learn, you'll have the opportunity to experiment with ideas and solutions in these circles. And this is not just brainstorming and discussing. And I and the team really can't wait to see what you come up with. So now I'll hand it back over to Sarah Joy to give us information about the community connections and dig into that meat of the collaborative learning circles.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dee. So community connections is one of those things that may seem like a counterintuitive use of time in a gathering that's as short as this one. And we spend more time on it than you might expect, but we also focus not just on what you do, but on who you are. You know, it's really, I don't know about you, but I get so tired of introducing myself to folks with just, hi, I'm Sarah Joy, and this is where I work. You know, that is kind of the typical introduction that we tend to do, particularly in the United States. And we try to help folks go beyond that in our community connections, where we want you to connect as people, because the type of work that we want to do in these circles goes beyond the surface. And we want the work to be meaningful. And we believe that if you connect as people, not just as professionals, that the work will be more successful and more meaningful to you as well. And that these types of connections are important and can be valuable to you. I have a colleague who says that this work moves at the speed of trust. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So we will spend a little bit more time doing this. We're going to move you into breakout rooms with 1 or 2 other people and invite you to just share with each other for a few minutes what inspires you to continue in this work as an organizer. Because like we said, you don't get paid for this. Like, this is something that you do because you love it. It's something that you do because you want to contribute to community. So rather than asking a lot of questions, rather than engaging in conversation per se, which we know you're all very good at, we want you to focus on just actively listening to each other. And we'll broadcast a warning halfway through when it's time for you to switch. And we will do kind of like, if there's 3 in your group, it's time to switch now, so that you don't have to keep track of that yourselves. And you'll see a little pop-up from Zoom just in a moment to invite you to go into a group. And if you just click yes when it comes up, then you'll kind of get shunted away into a group. And when it comes time, you will get yanked right back into this group. So there's nothing that you have to do on your own. Just spend some time sharing with each other on why, what is your deep why for being a 1 Million Cups organizer and for engaging with this community. So Colin, if you'll go ahead and send folks out into their groups, that would be great.
You should all have a notice on your screen now to join your room.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hello, hello.
It can be kind of brutal when you're just pulled out of a conversation like that. But it does help us stay on time. So our next segment is to dig into what we're actually going to be doing together in these circles. And we're going to encourage you to ask questions as we go along in this, rather than holding all questions to the end, because I know when I try to remember my questions through a whole presentation, I usually lose them. So feel free to post your questions in the chat, and your regional reps who've learned a bit more about the process will try to answer those questions as we go along, and any that aren't answered immediately, I'll answer as well. So we'll be pretty active in the chat as we're doing this. So let's get started. So the Collaborative Learning Circles initiative is based on a human-centered design cycle. And I imagine that many of you are familiar with human-centered design cycles from your work as entrepreneurs and other initiatives that you've been part of. Essentially, it's 4 phases that you go through in designing any kind of business or any kind of new initiative, where you are getting aligned on what's going to happen, what the purpose is, what the focus is, then going into learning and discover, where you're diving deeper and figuring out what exactly is going on here, what maybe do we not understand yet and need to more deeply understand, and where do we need to explore different avenues that we haven't understood in as much nuance as we maybe needed to. And then coming up with a next step to experiment on, or to try and pilot, where we can kind of iterate. This isn't designed to be let's find the be all end all solution to the themes that we're taking on. It is designed to be what's kind of the next thing that we could try. What's a potential iterative solution, a potential next step in the process. And then we share and celebrate. We come back around and we tell the story and we get feedback on it and start the process over again. So it's a fairly well-known cycle, and they're designed to be smallish groups. So you'll be working in a community for the next 8 months or so. And we meet monthly for just a small amount of time. And professional facilitators guide you through the process. So the gist of this design is that it solves for the challenges of collaboration. I imagine that most of you have been a part of potential collaborations where you come up with a great idea with a group of people, and there's a lot of enthusiasm around it. There's so much potential around this idea. And you all think, yeah, let's do this. Let's make it happen. And, maybe it lasts a month, maybe it lasts 3 months, but eventually things kind of fall apart before anything much really happens. And what we have found in our work is that there are a few key reasons why those efforts fall apart. And this, the collaborative learning circle process was designed to solve for those common reasons that those efforts fall apart. And most of it is no one has time to do it. And so there is logistical support built into the process. So none of you are going to have to do the scheduling or the communications in this process. It'll be done for you. And you'll also have someone who's kind of the holder of the experience design and the facilitation for the group. So no one has to be the leader of the group and hold that energy and hold that vision and drive. And also care for the dynamics within the group, which can also be a bit of a challenge. And no one has to be the accountability and follow-up person, which also takes usually more time and energy than any one person has. So when in taking those elements out from the group of folks that are trying to collaborate and turning that into external energy that's put into the system, we have found that collaboration can actually happen. It can actually become real. And that's what these circles are designed to do. And the way that happens is in these sort of adaptive processes that happen over a series of time. So we're working from starting in November and going through June. And your circles may show up really differently. It's not a set linear process where every month you're going to take on a certain task. Each theme may need very different things. So, one of your themes may need to stay in that frame and align stage for a long time. And another theme may need to spend a lot of its time in that learn and discover phase. And, one of the circles may get to spend a lot of time experimenting. And another circle may decide that its storytelling is the most important part of its work. So the model itself is very flexible, and you're going to get to decide as a circle which elements of that work are most important for the results you're trying to achieve and the value you're trying to create for 1 Million Cups. There are some kind of fence posts, I guess, that are happening along the way that are set, where we have some community collaboration calls where you're going to get together across circles and even in some, kind of have some chance for the broader organizer community to plug in and learn what you're learning and what's happening within the circles. And those happen in January, February, late January, early February, and in April. And then there's also the honorarium payments, which we'll get into later. But in general, there's a lot of flexibility around how the circles happen. But they're all going to culminate in July of next year when we have a showcase convening to kind of share with the broader organizer community what we've learned and what we've accomplished. Anybody have any questions they want to go into on the process and kind of the timeline?
Yes, sir, I've got just one question. This is Terry. Do you have an example of an end-to-end successfully completed path? Not to discuss today necessarily, but for people to better understand all of these connecting points and so on.
Certainly. Yes, and your regional rep can send you, we have 5 case studies of what this process has looked like across different groups that your regional rep would be happy to send you.
Thank you, and thank you, Kenzie.
Of course. So in terms of the roles that each of the kind of categories of folks are going to be playing, your facilitator is there to be your guide and your support through the circle. So they're taking care of all of the scheduling and all of the communications. They design each of the gatherings. So they kind of structure your 90 minutes together each month to figure out kind of what activities are going to help your circle move forward in its work. They are going to facilitate those gatherings, which does not mean that they're going to be talking. They will be talking a lot less than I'm talking today, for sure. And they also are there as accountability and support. So they'll be checking up on the action items that you commit to, not so much as a, did you get it done? Did you get it done? And more as a, what do you need in order to accomplish this thing that you committed to do? Do you need another person to help come in and help you do that? Do you need some budget to help that be accomplished? There's not a lot of budget, but there's some. And so they're there as support. The regional rep that's assigned to your circle is there to help ground the circle in 1 Million Cups culture and history and in priorities. So they are there as a subject matter expert. So they will help ensure that the facilitator doesn't, go off on some tangent or some methodology that is counter to the priorities and the culture of 1 Million Cups. And they have kind of a paired leadership structure within this Learning Circles program. And then you as the participants drive the circle with all that you bring in terms of your ideas and your questions and your passion. And you are there to do the work of the circle. And the idea is that with 8 to 18 folks involved in each of the circles, that work doesn't fall too heavily on any one person. Just like 1 Million Cups, it's designed to be community, not just one person doing the work. And we have seen it work really well, where no one person feels like they're bearing the brunt of the drive to get this thing done. And a lot can be accomplished by a group that has the support they need to actually collaborate. Oh, I see there's chat things. I'm so sorry.
Sarah Jo, we had a question that says from Audra, January of 2022 or 2023?
2022. Yeah, great question. So any questions about roles? Okay. All right, so expectations. What is this actually going to require of you? So we tried to get really clear here to help, because I understand that this process can seem really amorphous and not sure what's going on. So in terms of what this is going to take from you, there are monthly circle gatherings. So once a month for 90 minutes, you'll come together with your circle. And that will be a Zoom call like this one, but with far fewer people. and you will come together in a facilitated call to do some work. Sometimes that'll be learn and discover work. Sometimes that'll be experimentation work. Sometimes it'll be storytelling work. You'll be doing work with your circle. Also, once a month, you'll be asked to connect one-on-one with another member of your circle. And there's a piece of this that is about just forming good connections with other members of your circle, but it's also about helping to move the work forward in between gatherings. So those connections are 30 to 60 minutes. Sometimes they're shorter, but it's really up to you and the person you're paired with about how to use that time, when it happens, and how it happens. So this could be a phone call while you're both in the car, however that works out for you. then I'll kind of skip over here to the showcase event because it's also discrete. This is going to be 3 hours in July. There's a slight possibility that the plan will change on that, but we're pretty sure it's going to be 3 hours in July. And then this piece in the middle is a bit more amorphous. So this really depends on you, how you want to engage. This is the circle work. So there's, for each of those phases that we outlined, for learning and discovering, you can choose to do kind of extra work in the circle. You might be researching or conducting interviews or doing field trips around the things that your circle needs to dig more deeply into. When it comes time to experiment, you might be running a pilot in your 1MC community, like in your group. And you could then collect data on how that works in your community. Or you might just be gathering data about the current state of things in your community. You might be helping with analysis of other people's data, or managing a project that the group is, maybe it's other people who are implementing the idea and you're just kind of serving as the hub. There's lots of ways to help with the experiment work. And then eventually it will be time to share and celebrate the work that you've done as a circle. And this could be writing or designing, producing things for social media. However your circle decides to share the work that you've done, there will be tasks associated with creating those things to share.
I just want to call it, Sarah. Dick, you asked a question in the chat. I think it's a great question. The conveners group is going to, and the regional reps are going to lead organizers through these exercises. So they're going to gather you together and guide you in facilitated conversation around these topics so that you can share your insight and ideas around these and work together around these topics of interest. So the specifics that Sarah Joy is talking through are ways that you're going to be invited to be involved. And this is just kind of laying out the whole big picture for you. But obviously more information will be given along the way. And here in a little while, you'll get an opportunity to experience a little bit of what the facilitated conversation will feel like. So we definitely want to make sure everyone feels comfortable engaging and feel comfortable getting involved. So keep the questions coming and we'll try to get to them in chat.
Great. And in terms of like a task management system, every circle will be able to decide that for themselves, what they want to use.
Sarah Joy, not to jump in, but to jump in with one more. Somebody just chatted me. We, the regional reps and their involvement, just wanted for the organizers on the call to be aware that we have 3 of our 5 regional reps that would tend to have that are actually directly involved on the project. And that would be Kenzie and Ben and Kim and Zachary and Mark, who are also regional reps, would have information, but they are not specifically on the project. So wanted to note that if you end up asking them a question, they say, hey, I might need to go and ask somebody else of who is directly involved.
Great, thanks, Steve. And in terms of the marketing or the storytelling work, if there are things about that storytelling where the circle members don't feel capable of, or like they don't feel like they have the skills to produce the things they want to produce themselves, their facilitator may be able to help them find resources to do that. There will be, they will be executing to the extent that they are able to execute themselves. So, I think there's probably going to be a participant in the circle who will be able to write blogs. But if you're producing a video, there may not be that skill set within the circle, and there will be some resources available to help make that happen. I think it's Labode. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name properly, but does that answer your question?
Yes.
Deirdre, it looks like we have questions about the ultimate goals and end games of the circle. Yeah. So I wonder if it's helpful to move on.
Yeah, so Jack, the ultimate end game is kind of where we're going next. And And Doug, I'll get to that question as well. Great. Okay. I'm going to come back to honorariums real quick. So the definition of success with this, Grish, perfect segue. The definition of success is very much about the process, not so much what we end up doing in the circles. So we are hoping that these circles will engage around these questions. And honestly, whatever that engagement looks like is success. So it is much more about the process of you all as organizers engaging around these issues. Kaufman and the 1MC program have decided that these issues are important, and they have decided that you all are the best people to engage around them. And so, we are looking for your insights and your potential ideas and the data and the ideas and the insights that you gain from engaging on these challenges. So that really is success. There are some ideas that you can see in this slide of where it might go, but these are definitely not where it must go. And where it goes is 100% up to those who participate in the circles. And to the question that was about, is this aimed at creating a collaborative between multiple communities? Not necessarily. It's aimed at deeper understanding of and ideas for making progress on the specific issues of the circle. And that may involve collaboration between communities, and it may not.
Sarah Joy, I can jump in and add a moment there. So when we, in the intro, mentioned you all as organizers have been bringing up consistent topics time and time again, and we'll dig in and you'll have those light bulb moments. Oh yeah, we've been talking about that for 3 years. These will be individual experiences. And so I know there was a question in the chat of, will these be within community, but wanted to tie that back into, this is open to all organizers. And then we will have experiments that are run potentially, or you'll get as far as you get in the process. But this will be a balance of individual experiences and then how you engage back with your team. But it's not asking your entire organizing team to come and join a circle.
And I think I'll just take that one step further. Dee, thanks for adding that clarity. I think it's something different that we haven't done before. It's giving you the opportunity to come together in conversation around these key 1 million cups topic areas, and exchange ideas with organizers throughout 1MC Nation. So you're coming together in conversation and solutioning around these topics. And then we'll walk through the next couple of months with your regional rep and your facilitator to develop thoughts around these areas and share out with 1MC Nation. So this is really more about organizers working together and elevating out our thought process out of our individual localized communities and sharing ideas across the organizer community. Hopefully that helps provide some clarity, and want to make sure that you guys keep the questions coming so that we leave today with a great sense of comfort with what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Want to touch quickly on the honorariums that I skipped over. We want to, we call them honorariums for 2 reasons. One, because we want to make it clear that it's not compensation, because we recognize that we are not, you're not paid to begin with, and this is not intended to pay you for your time, but we are hoping to let you know that we value you putting extra effort into improving the 1MC program for all of the participants and all of the organizers. So there will be an honorarium for participation in the program that's paid, kind of distributed in 2 installments. And the criteria are simply to attend 2 of your circle's first gatherings. And that one will be tracked and distributed in January of 2022. And then if you attend 75% of your circle's total gatherings, that one will be distributed in June of 2022. Are there any questions about that bit? Fairly straightforward. Okay. All right. Now I think we're ready to go into our circle themes, unless there's anything about the way the circles themselves were function that we need to go over. No? Okay, good. Then we will jump into our themes. Oh, Stephen, was this a question in theory and or in practice? Tell me more. Okay, I think I can't hear you, Stephen, so I'm gonna go ahead and go on. All right, so our circle themes are REDI standards and practices as 1MC's culture, inclusive sustainability.
I'm sorry about that, Stephen. I thought that I would just send it in via text. In theory and in practice, I'm asking whether this initiative, as we're learning it, is to be taken back to our respective groups to put into practice, or are we taking it back as a theoretical exercise to only be used for outward meetings when we're having our weekly and our monthly events. And I say that because I've seen a lot of initiatives that, in theory, as someone with a science background, theory is fantastic. You know, it's how you move forward. Mm-hmm. It's in practice. It's how you get things done. And so I've just seen since starting a year ago that, you know, my group is big on theory, but we're not really big on practicing the tenets of what it does.
That's an excellent question. I think one of the things that I've heard from the 1MC team is that we are not intending this initiative to, you know, remake the 1MC program. That's not the intention. But we are hoping that this experience serves to, as, you know, capacity building and, you know, potentially professional development, even for organizers, that you grow personally from your engagement with this, and that you're, you know, each of you, I'm excited to learn from you all, and I hope that each of you are excited to learn from each other in this engagement, and that we believe that there will be things that you take from your engagement in the circles that you can take back as practical applications to your communities. Does that answer the question?
I also think, and I could be misunderstanding the question a little bit, so bear with me. But I also think that that's something that, as the circles work together in collaboration and community and conversation, that others might be having a struggle with as well. And so as these topic areas fit into that, Stephen, that you all as a group can work on strategies and tactics both that help navigate that as an organizer, because I'm assuming that you're probably not the only community that's having that experience. And the benefit of coming together in this way as a national conversation is that you all can learn from what has worked or what has failed for other organizers, and and then ultimately, surface or elevate what is the best of the best, or what others should try.
That does answer the question. Thanks. And I apologize for the delay. My work setup is literally a Google tablet, a Windows laptop, and an iPhone. So my brain freezes when I'm working with one or the other. I forget, swipe up, down, left. So there's always a delay.
That sounds like so much fun.
Hey, that's okay. We're so glad to have you here. And I'm impressed because I don't think I could navigate all those technology. In fact, I know I couldn't. Dee's saying no. Kudos to you.
All right. Thanks for that question, Stephen. I'm sure that you weren't the only one wondering. Thank you very much. And any other questions before we move on to the themes? Okay. All right, so we have our 3 themes. REDI standards and practices becoming really a part of the 1MC culture. Inclusive sustainability, which is aimed at shifting us super solidly from essentially organizer ownership and being organizer driven into being truly community driven, and using 1MC as an ecosystem building tool in your areas. So with that, we're going to start. I think we're going to skip this, but this can be sent to you by your regional reps. We're going to start with Kim with a little intro into the REDI theme.
Hi, everyone. Before I start, can you, I see you at the top of my screen. Am I coming through right? Okay, because I have a lag on my end. Okay. Welcome everyone to our kickoff today. I'm Kim Lane, I'm the Southwest Regional Rep, and I'm just gonna quickly go through why we're here, creating a safe space, why I'm excited about this work, and what's next. So I know we've been digging into the weeds quite a bit already, but why we're here in this particular circle is to increase the REDI lens of our 1MC work. So specifically, looking through the lens of race, equity, diversity, and inclusion to make sure we're being really intentional in terms of our 1MC communities, the attendees, the presenters, the organizing team, sort of the holistic view of how we approach this work intentionally. And I know being radically inclusive and diverse are among our key pillars, and this is something that we all already embody and talk about all the time. And I know that it's important to all of us to keep this at the forefront. We just want to sort of double click on that and make sure we're looking at all sides of the work that we do and ensure that we're moving forward in the best way possible. And again, I know that this is important. I have these types of conversations with many of you, and we're excited to dig in more. So creating a safe space. We want to really make sure we're looking at all types of communities that come to 1MC, mompreneurs, caregivers, historically underserved founders, people who work in the restaurant industry, non-tech entrepreneurs. I know from being involved with 1MC for many, many years, a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm a mom, I can't make it at 9 a.m. This is just a random example. So we want to make sure that we're looking through the lens of everyone who comes to 1MC to ensure that we really are creating this safe space, no barriers to entry, making sure that this is really sort of the front door to the entrepreneurial ecosystem for people, or at least gives people a way to connect with their community when they need to. And of course, we want to make sure that 1MCs reflect the community they are in. I say this a lot in our orientation, but the 1MC community should reflect the community that is in. It shouldn't, for instance, it shouldn't be all tech entrepreneurs or all tech entrepreneur organizing team, because then if you're not a tech entrepreneur, you might think you don't belong there. So we just want to make sure we're being really intentional and focused about creating a safe space. And that's what we're going to work on in this circle as well. And why am I excited about this? Wait, Joshua, I can go ahead and address your question right now if that works. You want to put it in the chat?
I can make it quick.
Sure, yeah. Totally.
I'm still I'm new to 1 Million Cups, and I appreciate you having me, and I'll make it quick. I'm just putting it out there. Time, is it always, I know you're trying to remove barriers. Is there anything about time that you're about to address, or does it have to be at 9:00 a.m. or how to just throwing it out there? I'm done.
Yeah, totally. So this is all stuff that we'll dig into in these circles. So these are just examples of I'm glad you raised that. that's the kind of stuff that we'll look into in this circle to make sure that we're looking through all the different components of 1MC and making sure we're being inclusive in our approach. And LeBeau, thank you for your comment as well. So here's why I'm excited about this. I'm personally really passionate about leveling the playing field for entrepreneurs. I've been working with Kauffman for almost a decade. I've been working with 1MC for a very long time as well. You might remember Mark Burke and I, who's also on this call, who's the Northeast regional rep. We developed a board game for 1MCOS a couple of years ago where organizers went through this practice of like going through different scenarios and looking at it through a DE&I lens to make sure we were being really intentional about our work and like what we can do to foster this safe space. So it's something I've been doing a lot of work on in the past. I also do this work with Facebook right now. They have a program called Elevate that supports Black and Latinx small business owners, and I do this work with them as well. And then I also do a lot of work with entrepreneurial policy to ensure that we're leveling the playing field, reducing barriers for entrepreneurs. So I'm personally really passionate about this. I love looking at ways we can really like think through a systems lens and look at, well, what can we really do to make a change here? Like to your question, Joshua, maybe we don't need to do it the way we've always done it in the past, and how can we really think through this together? So what's next? I just want to say I'm really excited. This is more than just a brainstorming group. It's a working group. And Dee knows I love moving the needle. How can we actually like put our work into action and make change happen together? So just to reiterate, phase one, we're going to talk about what we want to focus on within this DE&I lens. So like what component of this can we focus on over the next cycle of this program? The biggest time commitment is this 90-minute meeting every month. Phase two is we're going to look at research, like what do our 1MC communities look like? What is the current state of 1MC communities nationwide? And we'll look at learnings in phase three. So like, what do experts have to say about this? What has or hasn't worked in the past for 1MCs? And then phase four, which I'm most excited about, and I know this is like an iterative process. It's not going to look the same in every community, as Sarah Joy said, but I think if we were to look at like what could happen, phase four is experimenting with potential solutions and actually testing and piloting those ideas in our 1MCs. So I think there is an amazing opportunity here. This is a 2 to 5 hour a month time commitment. And like I said, the primary thing is that 90-minute meeting every month. And we have an amazing facilitator in this circle as well, Eliza. And so anyway, excited to get started. I think we have an amazing opportunity to pilot new research and test ideas and move the needle for 1MC Nation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim. Is everyone seeing my screen? Dee just chatted me that it was off. You are seeing it? Okay.
It got back on. It was on your desktop for a moment.
Weird.
I see it.
Thank you. All right. So now we're going to spend a few minutes in breakouts, starting the conversation. This will be like the very tip of this conversation because there's a lot to talk about with this theme. And, you know, as we just saw with just a few comments on after Kim's spark. So this activity is called Work the Edge. And what we want to start with is it's really tempting when we have a big issue like REDI practices with 1MC to jump right into the messy middle of an issue like this. And what we want to try with this activity is just for this conversation. This is not to say that in your circle, you are not going to go in, like hit it and go right into the messy middle of things. But for this conversation, for the next 10 minutes, we want to work the edge of equity and inclusion and diversity in 1MC and say, where are the places where our REDI principles and practices just break down? Like, where are the places where we are just right at the edge, where we could take one step and make a difference, where we could just push just a little and make a change, you know, without completely remaking the entire system or completely challenging everything that 1MC stands for? Where are the places where we could just, you know, knock off a rough edge or, you know, push one boundary or change a mindset just a little and make progress, you know, expand a bit. So we want to take a work the edge approach to the conversation for the next 10 minutes. knowing that that is not the approach that we will take for the entire conversation. But try it for this first 10 minutes to explore who are the communities that are not quite included. Where are the places where a small step or a small change could make a big difference? And we will break you into 4 groups to have this conversation so everyone has a chance to speak, and come back in a few minutes.
And so Colin's going to send us all out into breakouts. Just a reminder to accept the invitation that pops up on your screen. If you have any issues, just hang back for a second and we'll help you get into your breakout.
I hope you all enjoyed that. Welcome back. And these are designed to be just a taste, and they're all going to feel too short, and we recognize that right at the start. It's hard to be yanked out of those. We will let you know that Kim is going to be the regional rep who's the subject matter expert in that circle. So we welcome you to send any additional thoughts or ideas or hopes for that circle to her. Her email is going to be in the chat. So, she's super open to connecting with any of you, even if you're not able to participate in that circle, to get your feedback and your thoughts about that. It's a really, really important topic, and we're very excited to engage around it. Thank you for participating. Next, we're going to go and get a spark introduction on the theme of sustainable inclusion, which again really comes down to that co-ownership with your community and moving away from all of the impetus being on you, the organizer, into like a shared co-creation with your community. And we're going to get that spark presentation from Kenzie.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah Joy. I'm really excited for the REDI, absolutely, with Kim. So that's great. So I've actually been a presenter, an attendee, an organizer in 2 communities, and now I'm a regional rep. So almost all the roles. Now I need to sponsor something. No. So I've had 1MC. Oh, if I heard something. I've had 1MC in my life for a long time, and I've watched 1MC grow as a community, and I've watched our organizers grow as leaders. So I'm really excited to see these circles in action, and I'm hopeful that together we can explore and cultivate meaningful depth for our 1MC Nation. So I'll be working with the Circle for Inclusive Sustainability, co-ownership with your community. And I feel like we've been working around this topic for years now. And I know my organizers have felt particularly challenged by what it really means to be a community and share all of the elements, the good, the bad, the ugly, with everyone in the community. So let's dig in and explore the parts. So for community, I know that we use the term community to refer to a lot of things. Maybe it's our location, our city, other organizations that we work with, just our organizers, or 1MC Nation as a whole, and so on. So for this theme, we are not talking about ecosystem. So community does not mean those other organizations, physical locations. That'll be the final circle theme with Ben, which we'll explore later. But one thing to note is you've heard presentation, not pitch. You've heard connecting, not networking. So similarly, our 1MC Nation is a collection of communities, not chapters, and our communities gather rather than host events. Now let's talk about inclusive sustainability. When you hear inclusivity, you probably think about those REDI principles that we just explored, and sustainability makes us think like green and climate change, right? Well, for us, the 1MC Nation, inclusive sustainability means we really need to ask, how can we actively shift that so more people are deeply and creatively invested and the identity of the community doesn't get wrapped up in just 1 or 2 organizers? So what can ownership, co-creation look like beyond grooming people to be organizers one day? So where any person or group of community members can pick up the torch and support their 1MC community with or without organizers. So for example, this is just one example, we as organizers have probably canceled a 1MC gathering because we assumed our community maybe wouldn't have shown up, in a holiday work week, right? In reality, that was their most available week to come to 1MC. But we as an organizer made that decision for our entire community without proven data or feedback. So what can the circle explore? With these definitions in mind, what will your circle actually do? What can your circle explore? So like we said before in the chat, we don't want to prescribe this for you, since the whole point of the circle is to explore. But from a high level, we invite you to consider shared language around what defines a co-owned community versus an organizer-run community. The challenges of co-ownership and how we can be vulnerable with our own community. How to continuously invite the community into co-ownership. So what's next? I know this is a lot to take in. So just like the previous circle theme, we're going to head into breakouts and we're going to dig a little bit deeper. So I'll hand it back over to Sarah Joy to explain those breakouts.
Thank you, Kenzie. Okay, so for this activity, we're going to spend about the same amount of time again, and we are going to do an activity that's called appreciative inquiry, which is essentially focusing on the positive. It helps us start with the bright spots and move into the gaps. So we're going to identify what are some things that are working either in our own communities in 1MC or in other types of communities and organizations that we've seen. So we're going to start with, where have we seen this, shared ownership or this transfer where it doesn't all land on one person, where it's not like neither a hero nor a martyr, but this group ownership and shared responsibility. Where have we seen that work well, and what made it work well? And what have we seen that contributes to that? What have we seen that undermines it? And where have we seen gaps that could be filled or could be adapted in our own communities? So we're going to spend the first half of the activity focused on the bright spots and ways that we can start from strong and become stronger. And then we're going to spend the second half of the activity really honing in on identifying specific gaps where we can shore up our strength and become stronger again. Questions about the activity itself? Okay, let's head into breakout rooms. You're becoming pros at this. Welcome back once again. We hope you enjoyed that little taste of talking about an issue that we know is really important to all of you. That one is very much where the rubber meets the road for each of you as organizers, and going to be an important one to dig in on and to see what we can do as a community to help strengthen that ethos and make it real and not just a value that we say, but something that we truly live. And that's an important one and something that we have a lot of hope around. So thank you for engaging. Go ahead and do share some of your key insights and ideas in the chat. They'll be really useful to Kenzie and Kristen and the people who decide to participate in that circle in their work. And again, we'll post Kenzie's email into the chat for you to pass on any further thoughts you have. And she's super open to receiving those, and we'll take them and do the very best that circle can with all of your thoughts and ideas. Finally, we are going to jump into our last theme with Ben as our spark, sharing the basis for our work around using 1 million cups as an ecosystem building tool. So let me get oh, I'm sorry, I messed up my screen share. Hang on just a moment. Sorry, Ben. Here we go. All right, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah Joy. This is such a treat, and appreciate everyone participating in this way. Even these breakouts have been hot, right? imagine when we are given some space to truly go deep into a lot of different areas. What an opportunity this is for those who care so much. My name is Ben McDougal. I'm the Midwest Regional Rep. I've been having coffee since the beginning, and I'm so thankful for this role that helps support and connect different organizers and their teams throughout the 12-state Midwest region. This circle is going to be a neat look at entrepreneurial ecosystem building. And so in about 4 minutes here, I'm going to try to just share a quick thought around what an entrepreneurial ecosystem is from a high level, how 1MC plays a role within it, and then how you, through your actions, can continue to accelerate others through 1 million cups. And so just as you can see here, entrepreneur ecosystems look different, are shaped differently as they might be mapped. It might be a rural community, a medium-sized city, or the largest of ecosystems all around the United States. And so recognizing that startup communities and at a broader level, the entrepreneurial ecosystems are always different, these complex adaptive systems are sometimes challenging to navigate. And so to communicate how a community collaborates to support entrepreneurship, the term entrepreneurial ecosystem was coined to describe the people, organizations, resources, conditions, and most important, the complex interactions between everything in a business environment. And so what we're looking at here is a couple of examples of how different actors throughout an ecosystem might play different roles and, as mentioned, might be connected in various ways. Sarah Joy, click on that next screen though, because as you see, there's one missing. And of course, 1MC is going to live in a different place on all these different types of maps. But how is 1MC playing a role? And is it truly the front porch, the front door, a welcoming, inclusive environment that not only allows folks to thrive as entrepreneurs through that magic sauce of a consistent gathering, but also be introduced to other things throughout the entrepreneurial ecosystem and vice versa, other actors and factors and influencers around the community are also seeing 1MC not as a competing networking event, oh, they're doing their Wednesday morning thing, but instead something that is truly showcasing their organization and inviting those opportunities to create two-way streets of trust. And so within this circle, we're going to talk a lot about entrepreneurial ecosystems, building entrepreneurial ecosystems through an inclusive, positive sum mindset, where if you win, we win. And then looking at how 1MC plays a role and can be perhaps increased in that role of unifying, showcasing, supporting, connecting, educating, and accelerating entrepreneurs who are always remain the focus through that weekly experience. And so along with at a community level impacting the ecosystem, we'll lean into individuality and looking at how individuals on an active organizing team can activate this like heart for community and this interest in accelerating others and supporting entrepreneurs in a way that can like truly caffeinate whatever you care about. This is an opportunity. Being an entrepreneurial ecosystem builder might feel heavy, but it shouldn't. It's activating, it's kind of a vocabulary word that allows you as a community builder about those who have heart for others and building into entrepreneurship. It creates an identity that allows you to explore these opportunities through 1 million cups, but also with, around, and together with other actors throughout the entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is a circle I'm thrilled to be a part of. It's going to be energizing. It's going to be an opportunity to impact a lot of different elements around your local, statewide, regional, national, and global entrepreneurial ecosystem. So Sarah Joy, thanks for the moment. Looking forward to some breakouts here to dive a little bit deeper.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ben. Okay, so this is an example because our next activity is going to be a 5 whys exploration. And I think a lot of you have probably done one of these before, but if you haven't, we're going to go through an example really, really quickly. And Missy, maybe just pipe up and tell me if we are far enough behind that I do not have time to do this.
I think we should just jump into breakouts.
Gotcha. Okay. We're going to just jump into the breakouts and your facilitator will help you get through this or do something completely different. That may also happen. Excellent. I like hearing we had some mic drop moments. That's great. Welcome back, whether you like it or not. We are so glad that you chose to join us. We have very little time left, so we are going to very quickly tell you what's next and let you know essentially how you can choose to be part of this initiative and get to be a part of conversations like we've just had for the next 8 months and dig in on this kind of work. So what's next is that you get to go to an interest form and tell us that you want to be part of this. If you still have questions, that's okay too. So we'll put this link in the chat so you don't have to get it from this, this screen right now. We also will let you, there's some time to ask some questions and get some clarification. So tomorrow, you're going to get a follow-up email that has a bunch of images attached to it. So a bunch of the slides from today's presentation that outline the expectations. We'll attach those case studies as well, because it seems like a lot of you are interested in those to kind of help you understand how this process has played out in previous groups. They're not previous 1MC groups, just to clarify, but it'll still give you an idea of how this works. You'll also get some outreach over Slack and email from your regional reps. So you'll have opportunities to ask questions from them. Then you'll get a final reminder from us on Monday the 18th. And the deadline to sign up, just by filling out this little form, it will literally take you 30 seconds, if that, is on the Wednesday the 20th. So from there, you'll get an invitation to join a circle from your facilitator. And then there'll be this, again, kind of a time to answer some questions. And then and also to schedule all the actual meetings of your circle. So you will know by the 1st of November, all the dates that your circle will be meeting for the next 8 months. So you'll be able to put them on your calendar. You'll be able to block them off and you'll have your first gatherings in November. So again, that link is here and in the chat. And we are really, really excited for this. Final questions. Anything else that you'd like to clarify or particularly clarify about the process and how to get answers? I think, Missy, if you'd like to put your email and my email in the chat as well, you can reach out to us directly to get answers on the process.
People have already put this in the chat, but the link leads to a page that says you need permissions. I don't know whether—
Oh, no.
Whoever owns the Google form needs to go in and create the share link and change it to anyone with the link rather than people with—
I'm in it now, updating it.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, folks.
Well, who was our business coach before she presented? Sorry.
Oh, goodness. And
Sarah Joy, do you want to speak to what's going to be in the recap email so they're aware of what they're going to get?
Sorry, say that again, Missy.
Can you just speak to what will be in the recap email so they know all the resources that they're going to receive?
I think you probably have a better handle on that than I do.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome. Well, all organizers, whether or not they attended and also whether or not they registered, are going to receive a detailed recap of this call, which includes what was said on all the presentations, notes from the breakouts. It'll also include a version of this deck, just a little bit shorter, so you don't have all the like transition pages. And then we'll also include this link as well as the case studies. And then I think that's about it, but it'll be very, very comprehensive.
Missy, there was a question about, can people choose which circle, or basically if you express interest, does that mean you're in the circle?
No, it's just an interest, and we'll reach out to you if you express interest on more than one, and we'll kind of get a feel for which one has more interest, and we'll just adjust by size. The other thing, folks, is I'd like to take just a second and say, I received some very generous feedback from one of you about my little story at the beginning, that it was not appropriate and not welcoming and inclusive. And I really appreciate that feedback, that it's completely irrelevant that my friend who has the story about landing the plane is Black, and I will adjust that and won't ever use that detail again. And I really, really appreciate the feedback, and I will do better. So thank you all for being here. Really excited to work with you. And
feel free to stay on if you have any questions, or if you want to talk with us more, we'll hang out for a minute. But so good to see you all, and excited for the collaboration, excited for the conversation, and the enthusiasm to come. And feel free to reach out with any questions if you're not able to stay on. So happy to have you all here.
As a note, as we're closing out, you'll be receiving an email also directly after this. This is just a moment of us saying, hey, we can send out emails and we can send out Slack messages, but there's also a lot of power in you all's ability to have like informal communication channels. And so we're just going to send out a little template email that you could take and you can edit and update, and you could pass along to other organizers. Ben, I love his analogies. He compares this to the telephone game. So what could it look like if everybody on this call told 2 or 3 more people, and they told 2 or 3 more others? And how could we get interest and excitement from those that weren't here but absolutely would want to be involved? So be on the lookout for that. And Ben, do you have any comments as we're closing out?
Yeah, of course, be thinking about other active organizers on your team locally, but I would challenge you to go further. Think about other communities in your state, maybe virtual communities that you've teleported into recently. Let's activate more perspectives by inviting the party to get larger. And with the resources that you now understand, you can translate that, we can catch them up to speed, and our circles will only grow stronger through the value of more perspectives.
Hey, I have a quick question. Is there the ability to find out like when these circles would be meeting? Because that would have a fairly substantial impact on whether or not people might be able to commit.
Yeah, Audra, every circle will schedule with just the people that are in it. So the facilitator will send out like a doodle poll or something to each of the circle participants, and they'll schedule based on those participants' availability.
Okay. And do you guys have an idea about how many people might be in a particular circle?
Between 8 and 18.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to say. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
I was just gonna say goodbye. Y'all have a good week.
Goodbye, Robert. I love your background with your business card. It is. It's like, here I am. Have a great day, everyone. If you have questions, feel free to stay on. Otherwise, enjoy your day.
Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you.
I just want to say bye to everybody. I don't know when we'll see you all again soon, but maybe thank you. I'm excited to be part of the group. So ciao, everybody.
And Stephen, now that it's just essentially just the Kaufman folks and